So I'd like to make this. All right, there it goes. So I'd like to make this video. I guess I've never made any sort of like self-aggrandizing videos about myself, but I figure in this time, during the quarantine, that it makes sense to sort of maybe make a video journal of these times, perhaps at least for future people, to look back at this. Perhaps there will be something to, you know, something to pull from these times. I've chosen this time during the coronavirus quarantine to start a fast. I realized that you know the date right now is April 18th, and the last 3 weeks I've been kind of just eating and drinking whatever I want. And the I've been weighing myself, and I've been noticing that I've been gaining more weight than I probably want to. And there's there's different ways that people lose weight. For me, I find that the one that works the best is either changing my diet or changing my exercise habits, or both. Though I will say I've always been intrigued by fasting, specifically. And so I'm beginning this. This is part one. I don't know how many days I'll continue to do this, but this is part one of a fast I'm doing. I'm actually on I'm more than 24 hours into a soft dry fast. Now, just to kind of give you guys kind of the scoop on the difference between dry fasting and wet fasting. Dry fasting, this would be no showers, no brushing your teeth, and no drinking of any liquids, as well as not eating any food. A soft dry fast would be the inclusion of brushing one's teeth, taking showers, but not eating any food. Mine is a soft dry fast because I have an addiction to coffee and espresso. So for myself, when I wake up in the morning, I hate to admit this. I hate to admit this as a somewhat of a weakness, but I need to drink espresso, and so I wake up in the morning, or I guess what time I wake up is not that there's any time right now. There's actually no days either. Couldn't tell you what day it was. No, I'm just. But when we wake up, it's kind of whenever we wake up. There's no reason to wake up because there's no work, there's no jobs. Now I'm speaking for myself. I mean, other people who don't have any work right now, they may have reasons to wake up. I don't know. Maybe they're a farmer. Who knows? But for myself, I wake up, around noon right now, and I have no shame about it. But so I'm 36 years old, 5'7". When I weighed myself 2 days ago, I had reached the weight of 167 pounds. I have a nice German scale that measures body fat percentile. I understand that it's not perfect, but I don't believe that that it's that far off. Now, I came in at 167 pounds with a body fat percentile of about 32% body fat. Now, according to the what I call TDEE calculator.net, I think that's it off the top of my head, that would make me with a BMI. Now, when this started about For myself, it started about March 11th was when I stopped working. A voodoo a voodoo ceremony. Um, I myself am not a voodoo initiate, but I do enjoy cooking good Haitian food. Now, while we were out there, we noticed that New Orleans had begun. Uh, there'd been some concern in New Orleans that we were getting via news out in rural Mississippi. And when I got back from that catering gig, it was March 14th, and that was when the mayor of New Orleans, Latoya Cantrell, came on the news to speak about closing businesses down. Of course, I was scheduled to work March 15th, which was the Monday following, and I called my boss, called in sick for the first time that I had ever called in work sick in about a year of working there. And I told them that until more is known about this, I didn't feel comfortable coming into work and being around not only my coworkers at the restaurant, but as well as tourists and patrons. And so they said that's fine. They and it was, I think, either that day or I think it was that afternoon that they basically said that they were going to close all restaurants and bars in the state of Louisiana. So I didn't have to go back in the next day either. And so since then, since March 11th, or I should say March 14th, I had been sort of, living at home, self-quarantining. If I had to go out, it was to the grocery store, to the post office, wearing a mask, a nice respirator, wearing gloves, sometimes not, and just making sure on my way home, not touch my face, wash my hands, etc. Before touching my face or eating food again. A pretty strict keto diet up until about December. Probably I could share the sources of that alleviation with y'all, but I find that you'll either agree with me because in general are not good for you unless you're an athlete. This is what I believe, and this is which talk a lot about autophagy, insulin levels, glucose levels in the blood, the lectin-free diet or the grain-free diet of, I forget what his name is, Dr. Steve Gundry. So combining both of those together, I was doing the keto diet and noticing a very, very positive effect in my mind, not just my body, but also my mind. Very clear thoughts. From what I've gathered from the information that I have, almost all of the carbohydrates contain what are called lectins. And these lectins, the keto people don't really acknowledge the lectin principle, and the lectin people don't necessarily acknowledge the keto factor, say, though they both agree on the practice of the diet. So small amount of protein per diet or per meal, large amount. If you cut down on carbohydrates, the lion's share of your calories must come from something else. Your liver would work too hard to get all of your extra calories from just protein, and so the answer, according to keto, is to take in healthy fats, which are very calorie rich. And so that's what I was doing, and lost a great amount of weight. I was probably my healthiest weight was probably 145 pounds. Inflammation, systemic inflammation, and where it's hard to ascertain where that specifically coming from in your body. I think the effect in the mind is actually quite significant. I could get into that in a second, but after December of 2019, I kind of dropped off the ketogenic diet because I had just gone through a breakup and was feeling fairly depressed, and started drinking more alcohol, and also was eating more, I guess, holiday-ish foods, or wasn't saying no to them. And so, I kind of gained about 10 more pounds and got up to about 155 pounds. Still felt good about my body, my pants. Because I bike to work about 4 miles each way, so I'm biking about 8 miles a day, biking about 5 days at a time. Sometimes I'll do a 10-day in a row stretch of work. I'll work about 50 to 70 hours a week, and I was usually eating about one meal a day. And so it was easy for me in that kind of activity to stay at about 155 pounds. And also I didn't have the time to really eat or indulge in food. Now, fast forward to the quarantine, and I'm no longer biking 8 miles a day, certainly not working hours a week. I'm actually working 0 hours a week. And I'm also spending more of my time at home, which had tended to translate to eating more food. Now, as I said, I had gotten off the ketogenic diet and was eating more carbohydrates, which is to say more legumes, more rices. I was eating bread again, definitely eating sugar. And I was conscientious that eat more carbs, therefore more calories. I was without the ketogenic part. So you can eat, efficient form of energy than either your simple or your complex carbohydrates. And so I was conscious that as I was eating these foods, there would come a time when I might have to pay the pauper, so to speak, or cash in, so to speak. And what I was also doing was weighing myself throughout the last 4 weeks. Now I started to notice I was starting to gain more weight. This would be a 60-pound mark that I think was the heaviest I've ever been as a man. And so I weighed myself 2 days, much of a surprise, because I switched from liquor to beer, and I've been drinking a lot more beer, and also been waking up every morning drinking a beautiful, beautiful Irish coffee with Bailey's, Jameson whiskey, really delicious. But also eating more. I was eating, breakfast, then lunch at around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we get hungry again for a snack at around, around 10 p.m. I was eating after 9 o'clock every night, and I could sense that something was up here, and I was also noticing that my pants are feeling a little bit more tight than usual. So, it's discipline, and you either got it or you don't. And if you don't, you probably ain't going to be very good diets. Now, that being said, there's no shame, but for myself, at least, jump into the dry fast. The dry fast, do a dry fast for about 7 to, he gives ratio. The ratio, I think, is 1 part, I guess you'd say half a part of Epsom salts that are food grade. And my connection's becoming unstable. We have some storms here in New Orleans right now. And then half a part of baking soda or sodium bicarbonate. You mix this all together, get whatever quantity you get, and then from that, I think I use a blender to grind it all up and mix it all up. You take a tablespoon. You could do some fancy water. I might just use tap water, but I might also go buy a jug of pure distilled water and then fortify it with the electrolytes. Now, and then you just drink that. You drink the snake juice, as he calls it, for as long as you can. Basically, it's just down to like what level of discipline that you have. So, I'm on my second day, as I'm trying to do about 72 to 96 hours of a dry fast, and then start doing the snake juice. Right now I'm at, looks like I'm at about 26 plus 8. Looks like I'm about 34 hours into a dry fast. So I've got about, 50 some more hours to go, which is about 2 more whole days. And I've been trying to, just try to keep just things to eat. I'm also, kind of doing this by myself. So, I got a dog here, trying to keep busy and, seeing how it goes. But I thought I'd make this this video diary to sort of see how far I go, and also to sort of let you, the viewer, sort of come along for the ride, I guess. I'm not sure if I'll make this public or not. I guess I guess it's not so. Private. I don't know. It seems like one of those things where someone could feel shy or self-conscious. But I'm very interested in exploring this, I guess, because I feel with almost everything these days that everyone seems to have their own belief system or what they choose to believe. I know a few doctors that, definitely prescribe or, definitely advise doing fasting, even dry fasting. Dr. Berg is one. I think his name is Andrew Wang, I think, or Dr. Yang. And the decimation of the human body based on an overabundance of carbohydrates. It basically, it's a pro keto documentary, but it's pretty compelling. And watching it, I have no reason to. I actually don't know people like that. People who would scream at you on Facebook or scream at you in the social media realm to say, "Oh, how could you?" or "What are you doing? That's crazy," And I guess at the end of the day, I mean, whatever works for you, I guess the proof is in the pudding. If you are a healthy weight, and you have a really nice body fat percentile of maybe 10 to 14% body fat, and you've got a 33% body fat percentile, and you're already in the BMI of overweight. I mean, I'm going to do what I need to do, and that's just all there is to it. And as I was saying before, there's no body shaming going on here. This is nothing to do with anybody else, or even my personal opinion of anybody else. I find that people I find people of all shapes and sizes to be beautiful. So, um, but as for myself, it's a little funny to me to see people on Facebook who don't have, or would criticize someone who don't seem to be living a very healthy lifestyle. Um, I see people like that, who they do a vegan lifestyle, but they themselves are, you know, overweight. And one might say, well, if you're doing a vegan lifestyle, presumably you're doing that to not just you know be conscientious morally or ethically for the treatment of animals, but also presumably to be healthier or a healthy body weight. Um, and so this is that first video. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully I can come back tomorrow. Um, but we'll see. So anyways, if anybody has any comments or anything, please feel free to put them down below. Um, and thank you.